I thank BIC for having invited me here to introduce this film. Of course, Samskara is not a film in Bangalore, at least, doesn't need so much of an introduction. But let me, generally do whatever I'm required to do. I mean, generally talk about it. Now, there are different ways of approaching Samskara. Okay, it's because it's a faithful adaptation of a very important novel in Kannada. One way would be to approach it through the novel, how the novel got written, where it belongs, what is the movement to which it belongs. Another way would be look at it as cinema, entirely as cinema, as a kind of, through the thing of Indian film history. That would be the second way. Now, since I'm a film critic, I look at it through the thing of Indian film history, through the prism of film history. It was made in 1970, okay, which was it was the beginning of a movement which came to be known as parallel cinema. Now, parallel cinema was basically an initiative brought about through the intervention of HDFC or the not what is this? It's not what is the name of the place? NFDC. Okay, NFDC. I keep forgetting NFDC, HSBC. I mean, okay, okay, NFDC, and NFDC was called Film Finance Corporation. Okay, and NFDC was under Indira Gandhi. There was a thing, because in Indian cinema had been escapist. Actually, this is not always the case. In the 50s, Indian cinema had been highly responsive, but after 1962, you know what is 1962? Somehow it retreated into some kind of unresponsiveness. It became some kind of escapist stuff, and used to have this James Bond kind of stuff. I don't know, you've seen Jewel Thief movies like Jewel Thief, sliding doors, okay, villains, and that sort of thing. So then, when Indira Gandhi came around 69 or so, after that, there was this thing that films had to be about ordinary people, had to deal with everyday life, problems of life, and this was the basic thing. So then, 1969, they financed, NFDC financed uh, some three movies, important movies. One was Bhuvan Shom of Mrinal Sen. Another was Sara Akash by, I think, Basu Chatterjee. The third, I think, was Uski Roti by Mani Kaul. These are three important films. Samskara was made 1 year later. It was made by, I don't know, for funding, Mr. S.G. Vasu, who was the art director, is here. Who funded the movie? Huh, producer. Okay, I see. Okay, it was okay. All right. Okay. So but it was local money. It was not NFTC. Okay. Now, before this thing came about, this entire this parallel cinema came about through the intervention of NFDC. The previous art filmmaker in India was Satyajit Ray. He's the only one. Satyajit Ray was already established himself, but Satyajit Ray was very different, from before. There were these what could be called the precursors of middle cinema in Shantaram, Bimal Roy. They would be. Ghatak is not middle cinema. Ghatak is something else. So, but he was also not art cinema in the Satyajit Ray sense, okay, and or in the new cinema sense. Now, all these people had done something in the past, but I think this was the first, with this intervention of NFDC, it was the very first thing, okay? The basic difference, you cannot see the Indian New Wave or the parallel cinema as a continuation of Satyajit Ray. Satyajit Ray is internationalist, okay? He's internationalist in the sense it was part of a worldwide movement among newly independent countries to proclaim their high culture. It was a thing of high culture play to the world. That is a completely different thing. Now, if you look at Pather Panchali, for instance, it announces Indian modernity to the world in some sense because of the way the modern is a very key thing, like machinery, telegraph. All this is very important in Satyajit Ray's films. If you come to Samskara, my own thing is Samskara was the Kannada world, okay, making a claim upon modernity to India, okay, because everything breeds modernity in Samskara. The entire dilemma in Samskara is about this Brahmin scholar, Pranesh Acharya, Madhva scholar, from somewhere this Shimoga area. Okay, the thing is, Anantmurti had been in England. He was doing his PhD in England, I think in Birmingham. Birmingham, he was doing it, and then he saw Bergman's Seventh Seal, which is about this knight who's coming back from the Crusades, who he's beset by all these doubts about religion, about God, about all this because of what he has seen in the Crusades, and there is plague in the air. So in many ways, Samskara was influenced. Doesn't have too much of a relevance except the fact of disillusionment with one's tradition, with one's religion, with all that. Okay, but the point is, this plague is also an important thing. Okay, now so what is important is that it was part of this movement, the Kannada literary movement called Navya, which is some kind of modernist Kannada movement. And my own, at that time in the 60s, there was a lot of modernism in the air around Indian literature. You had in Hindi, you had Nirmal Verma, you had Mohan Rakesh. In Kerala, you had Vijayan, O.V. Vijayan, who did this Kasak. This entire thing, of what is tradition. And the important thing here is the word existentialist is used very much to describe a certain kind of thing. Nirmal Varma, Samskara, okay. Existential usually means, it means questioning one's, a moral, it's a moral turmoil, moral dilemma, that sort of thing. It usually, like for example, Camus, Dostoevsky, these are the people who are associated with existentialism and something like Notes from Underground of Dostoevsky. The Fall by Camus would be existentialist. Here it seems to be, like, it's not a moral dilemma as such for Pranesh Acharya. It's more a question of taboo. Okay, it's a breaking of a taboo. Okay, like we can't, for example, we cannot take Pranesh Acharya breaks certain taboos. Okay, we can't look upon it today as a certain moral dilemma. It seems to be moral because moral. It's not moral anymore today that Brahmin breaks even in Ananthamurthy's time. But the point is, he had to somehow find this thing of dharma. This man is scholar. What is the dharma he's been following? And somehow, so the question is that samskara follows that thing. Okay, the breaking of taboo, the questioning it leads to. What has tradition got to do? So the question is, this questioning of tradition is a very key issue in samskara. It is also a key issue in this taboo features again in O.V. Vijayan's Kasak. It's an important novel. Kasak also, this thing of taboo is very important, questioning the fact that you've broken a taboo and something has happened and your whole life is turned upside down. Okay. So in this particular thing, the dilemma in this film, I mean, when it was made with you can understand how important this film was as a cultural event. I remember it was released in Minerva Theatre, and all very important intellectuals of Kannada, Karnad, Girish Karnad, Ananthamurthy is a writer, Girish Karnad is the lead actor, Patabi Ramareddy, Snehalata Reddy is the heroine, Siva Sudev was the art director, Rajiv Taranath's music, okay, and a lot of smaller roles played by important intellectuals of the time. And it was as if, at that particular time, it was as if the whole intellectual crowd of Bangalore, the Kannada intellectual crowd of Bangalore, had actually participated in some way to take Kannada culture. And also an important thing we must remember about the modernist movement in Kannada, it was, in my reading, it was post 1956. What happened in 1956? It was the linguistic reorganization of the states, and for the first time, Kannada identity became important because of the linguistic reorganization. Okay, but all these people were basically, most of them, I think, were from the Mysore area. The Kannada, we talk about Kannada, but there's a certain Mysore ethos there. And this is my old Mysore, which includes Shimoga. It would include a lot of these other places. Shimoga is one of the hotbeds of, shall we say, of intellectual activity in Karnataka. Then it was. I don't know what it is like right now, but this is the thing. But the point is, all these people got together and they carried because of cinema is a sort of all India thing. It won I think Samskara won the award for the best feature film, and then you could say they took Samskara to the national level, and that is why I think that the film makes it's a kind of the Kannada region, the Kannada intelligentsia, the Kannada culture making its claim upon Indian modernity. Okay, this is my reading of it. I won't say very much more about it. There are a lot of important characters here. One of the important characters is a character called Putta, who comes somewhere in the thing. He's a very important character. This novel was translated by A.K. Ramanujan into English. It's available. I think there's the only one translation. This Putta, he talks about Putta. I won't say anything more about it. I won't talk about the film itself. I just wanted to introduce it, why it is important, because it is I think subsequently the art film movement continued in Kannada, but none of the films until Girish Kasarwalli came on the scene, none of the other films made any immediate impact. For example, we were discussing the thing about Vamsha Ruksha was immediately the next one. The first three were Karnad and Karant, I think. The third was only Karnad. Vamshavruksha was both Karnad and Karant directed that film together. Vamshavruksha, we don't see it, nobody hears about that movie. We don't know exactly what the status is, but Samskara remains the kind of benchmark or whatever in Kannada art cinema. Okay? So after having said this, I will I'll stop it here, having introduced the movie. I'll be happy to sort of join in any discussion after the film is over. Thank you.
Right. It's meant to be an informal conversation. Any responses, any first impressions that anybody from the audiences would like to share, welcome. But may I ask Raghavendra sir to start off the conversation. And I don't know, you must have seen the film several times, but
I just wrote about the book. I mean, just a book. My one volume has just come out on Indian language literature. It is published by Routledge. It came out 2 or 3 months ago. So I read the novel quite closely. There are some similarities. I mean, it's faithful by and large, quite a faithful thing. That there are, obviously, you can't, the film cannot be completely true because the novel is much longer. I found some interesting things, I don't know, because I mean some interesting aspects to the thing. There's a certain element of eroticism in, I don't know, in fact, I wonder if a lot of it, might be considered sexist today, There are elements in the novel, okay. There's the sort of description of certain, a certain level of eroticism, I don't know, objectification of women and all that, the bit is there. The film is it's not there in the film at all, but the descriptions are somewhat. But yeah, this is the thing I found out about it. Of course, and one more thing is there. Here we don't know whether Narayanappa is cremated or not. He's to the end. There it's not an issue at all in the sense that somebody cremates him. Chandri gets some a Muslim friend of his to come and cremate him. It's become so. Here it looks like, yeah. So that thing is there. So otherwise, it's quite faithful to the thing about it. But there's also this, I think, an important thing. Okay, another important thing in the novel is that this Praneshacharya's sojourn in Varanasi, where he studied something. There is another Brahmin there by the name of Mahabala. He's a Smarta Brahmin, and he also goes astray in the sense he gets into drugs and all that. He is also a kind of brilliant scholar and all that. He's also a student. So the question is that that portion is also left out. I mean, obviously he couldn't very well take all this stuff. It would become too much. But otherwise, he's generally been faithful to the novel. You could say that. This is the thing. I'm happy to sort of get into a discussion about it. Anybody else? Anything about the theme of the thing? Yeah, please.
What exactly is the significance of the rats?
It's a plague, right? It's a thing of decay. As I said, it seems to be somewhat, inspired by Seventh Seal, where also this thing of plague is there, right?
Okay, yeah.
There, of course, there's a thing of Christian thing, of all those issues are there, sin and all that. Sin is a big thing there, right? And also, here the rats is a thing of decay, the whole society in decay kind of thing. When is it set? I think in the novel, he gives the date somewhere the Gandhians are about. So it would be probably in the 30s or so. Maybe. 1930s, yeah, maybe. Yeah, because the mention of Gandhians.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like the rats dying, the decay, is it symbolic to the decay of the society?
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
One question I'd like to ask you, instead of all of me doing all the talking, What do you think of the music in the movie?
Yeah,
What did you
it's-
think of the use of music?
Yeah, music is too good.
No, forget about the quality of the music. Is
Okay.
it appropriate for the movie? What do you think?
Yeah.
Is the music appropriate for the film? Is it? Oh, I mean, I found it inappropriate.
I think Rajiv Taranath, who was called as music director, he plays sitar mainly.
Yeah, Saroj, I think.
I
Saroj.
think it was not really meant for the film.
Yeah, I also think so.
I think it could have been a better thing to make a separate music for the film.
Yeah, you know what my feeling? Think about there's a lot of irony in the movie, right? Okay.
Yeah.
It's very ironic.
Yeah,
See,
paradox.
irony, you know, the one thing about classical music, Indian classical music is it can't accommodate irony. Okay. Indian classical music, I mean, it's you know, like for example, it works much better with Pather Panchali because Pather Panchali, that kind of irony is very little. Okay. So the entire thing is realism, the entire thing is lyrical. If it's lyricism, it goes very well. This is not lyrical, this film. It's highly ironic, okay? So the question is, this irony doesn't seem to sort of, I get the feeling that the classical music is not okay for irony. It should be neutral music, okay? It should be neutral, slightly harsh, okay?
Yeah, like as I said, in separation it is good.
Yeah.
But to the situations,
It doesn't fit, it doesn't
sometimes,
fit.
but the
Yeah.
music as a whole is good.
Music itself is good.
Yeah, music itself
music
is
is
very
good.
good.
It's wonderful. But the point is, it doesn't seem to fit the irony of the thing. So, I mean, any other...
May I say something?
please, please.
I don't think it intrudes. I don't think I'm heard.
Yeah.
I don't think it intrudes on the story, on the plot. The music doesn't. You don't suddenly feel, oh gosh, what is this music doing here? It just fits in.
Yeah, it fits in, but I think you're mentioning only about the irony was
Yeah,
not shown.
yeah,
but
I-
as such, it doesn't intrude and it's pretty good.
It's almost like satirical, you know. I mean, there's an element of satire in the movie that you know, that entire Brahmin community, and satire. I don't know, you know. I mean, Sarod and Sitar with satire. I don't know. I mean, this is the thing, and it's completely classical. It's completely classical.
You
I
mean to
recognize a
say
lot of
why-
Bhairavi and all that. Yeah.
You mean to say violin should have been used also?
Not classical. Okay, not classical. See, I mean, like, see, one of the things about Indian music, by and large, is mood music. Okay, it's it's mood music, right? And melancholy, for example, melancholy goes very well with it. Sweet, melancholy, lyrical, all this sort of thing, nature, all this sort of thing goes very well. I would like to, yeah, this is my sense, okay? Irony, satire, okay? I mean, it has to be neutral in some sense. But by and large, Indian music is rarely neutral. I mean, you don't get that kind of neutrality in Indian music. Whereas Western, see, I mean, Western music, I mean, even Western music is quite neutral. It can be made neutral, okay? Electronic music. But of course, those days, none of that was there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
As such, you can feel that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Please, please.
No, please go on, finish. No, he was saying something.
No, you can say. You can say.
Yesterday, when I watched Manthan, sometimes we feel the same in that also. Though Vanraj sir's music is
Vanraj
top
Bhatia,
class, yeah.
Yeah.
The situations, as you said, when you have to suit them, sometimes you might feel, but at those times, it's really commendable
Yeah,
that
probably,
they have done this. Yeah.
Vanraj Bhatia used to do a lot of neutral music, you know, in the sense.
Yeah, but in Manthan, he has not done much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think he is more classical.
Okay.
More classical. And coming back to this story, I was there during the shooting because I was art director of the film. And once Ananthamurthy came to the location, he said, Vasudev, exactly how I conceived. I said, Ananthamurthy, please don't involve yourself in the film. Because film is another medium altogether. we have tried to capture as much as possible, but then it's a different medium. You cannot. So Ananthamurthy himself was so involved in that film. He didn't write better than Samskara for a long time. And Samskara became popular because of Ramanujan.
A.K. Ramanujan.
A.K. Ramanujan. A.K. Ramanujan translated the whole thing, and he was a fantastic translator. And it is because of his translation, the film has gone to about 25 world languages. If it was only in Kannada, it wouldn't have. But because of Ramanujan's translation to English, from English it has gone to 25 other languages.
Okay.
So that's, I think, credit should be given to Ramanujan for that. And I agree with you about the music part of it. It's a nice thing, to hear classical music.
Yes, that's true.
But whether it would go well with the
Appropriate,
film
yeah.
is important.
What is your view on Putta? What do you think about this character, Putta? Yeah, please.
Can I?
Please,
can I
madam.
interject?
Sorry. Yeah. Please, go ahead.
You want
I
to
don't
know
think
about-
I'm
Go
there.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, Lakshmi?
Please.
You can speak. Go ahead.
I do. It's come out as a very serious movie. But I do want to say that all of us who went into it, from cameraman to director to actors to Girish to Vasu, none of us knew anything about filmmaking. I think Pattabhi had made one film before, but he did know Kannada. None of us knew Kannada except Vasu and Girish. But our cameraman was an Australian, Tom Cowan, and that was wonderful.
Very good.
Actually, it came out so well because, I don't know, because we were all so involved in it. Especially the Vasu and Girish and Pattabhi. It was a very, very serious movie, but it was great fun doing it, Vasu. It was great fun. Because we were all from Madras players who went up there, who did it free and enjoyed it, and never for a moment expected any payment. When I think of Samskara now, the first thing that comes to my mind is it cost Pattabhi only 1 lakh. One has to think in terms of money these days, no? But otherwise, it hung together so well in spite of all of us, I think. Okay?
And
Yamuna, anything?
Yamuna?
I think it was the sort of innocence with which we all approached it. We were so spontaneous. As Lakshmi said, none of us expected any money. We were just actors sharing with Vasu and Girish and through them with Ananthamurthy. This wonderful novel, which today looks like some kind of fairy tale or, I don't know how would you classify it? Either it's a myth or a dream or...
Allegory, I think.
Huh?
Allegory.
It's so unreal.
It's more allegorical in some way, so the social decay, this, that. It's not a completely realistic novel in that sense. It's some spiritual journey. It's not exactly a spiritual journey. It's a kind of, I don't know, but I would see it somewhat as an allegorical. His entire journey is allegorical, inner journey kind of thing. So something like that is there, yeah.
Do we have allegorical stories nowadays? It's not very common, is it?
My own thing is to look up all Hindi movies as allegory. Everything is allegory.
But that's a totally different class of allegory.
Yeah, it's different, and they're not very conscious of it. No, you take, for example, superheroes, right? Why does Spider-Man have blue and red as colors? Why does Superman, Spider-Man, why do they have blue and red? Because the American flag, right? Once you say that these people represent the American flag, automatically there is some political angle. Automatically it brings him something, right? So automatically it becomes allegorical in some sense. Good and evil, good being this. In Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man has black. Okay, that means it's something evil and that sort of thing. So it's very difficult not to read. And there's a critic called Frederick Jameson. I don't know if you've heard of him. Frederick Jameson says all third world texts should be read as national allegory. All third world texts should be read as national allegory, which means that is because you can't have stories about private life, right? You can't have stories about private life, right? Because private life in the third world has not developed so much, unlike in the Western thing. So the question is, if you have a hero and something happens to the hero is not an individual. Okay, the hero in some way or other represents the nationhood, something or the other. So you look at all your Hindi heroes, they have a place of some sort. They have an angry young man everything has a certain place in the national narrative of the nation. So that is why everything is allegory. So, but that this is not allegory in that way. It seems to be more conscious in some way. It's, that national sense is not that. It's something else. It's probably a inner journey of the religion or some, that way. You could probably see it like
But
that.
it's quite rare to see a movie without any gimmicks, which is just so devoid of any effects. And
Yeah,
so it's
yeah,
very, very rare.
rare. What did Anantmurthy think of the film? Was he happy with the film?
I think Anantmurthy was very, very happy because he saw his wife also. She was looking very beautiful
Okay.
in the film.
What role did she play?
She acted as Sheshapa's wife. So Chandri goes to somebody's house
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Huh.
and asks Sheshapa. We wanted Anantmurthy's wife to be there in the frame, so she came to the frame.
Okay.
And Anantmurthy was very happy with the film. There is no doubt about it. But you know, I somehow feel that problem. You know, I had mentioned this to Anantmurthy also. He also mentions in his novel few things which influenced him to write Samskara. One was J. Krishnamurthy's philosophy.
Oh, okay.
So I think J. Krishnamurthy's philosophy stands today also. And I feel that problem of cremation is limited. But really speaking, problem of a person, you know, whether he becomes what he is not, he becomes Nananappa.
Okay.
Pranashacharya becomes Nananappa. That's very important.
Yes, yes. I hadn't seen it that way at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I felt
Okay.
about the film. And we didn't know how to end the film. So he goes back to the village. For what, one doesn't know. Because he has no wife there. Chandri-
Nobody's there. All of them are dead.
All of them are dead. So he goes back to the village. I do not know whether he will lead the life of like Nananappa later on. So it's a question of just very interesting thing is, you know, Ramanujan was a friend of all of us. When he saw the film, it was he who pointed out at one point of time, he said, no Brahmin like Pranashacharya would put a hand like that around Putta, which was very true. They always hold a hand, they never put the hand around. So he told Girish, that's a very Western thing, what you did.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's a very correct thing, you know.
Possibly, yeah.
Very correct thing.
But what about Putta? What is your feeling about Putta? Yeah, please.
Sorry, not about Putta, but I had two questions. I can say that and we can continue to discuss about
I
it.
think it gets unnecessarily elongated in the last, I think. And how accidentally he meets Praneshacharya and again, very accidentally he leaves him also and goes off. So an abrupt end probably, is it the same in the story also, Putta's role, or it is something
See,
broad?
one thing about the thing is, if you look at what Ramanujan has written about the novel in the foreword, okay, he thinks that Putta is living a completely uncomplicated life. Okay, he's completely uncomplicated life, that he's a wonder of nature, he's not bothered by any of these things. It's not true. It's not true at all, because when Praneshacharya tells him this, he rejects him, okay? Which means whatever Praneshacharya has internalized as a Brahmin, Putta has internalized at his own caste level, okay? Okay, so which means the Putta is no longer an admirable character. If he had been shown to be sort of really carefree, that movie would have, but it's not there in the novel as well, okay? You see, one thing I don't like about the novel is there's an element of condescension when it comes to the lower castes, okay? See, for example, the simple people thing, right? Okay. There are 3 intelligent people in the novel. All are Brahmins, okay? One is Praneshacharya who questions, there is Narayanappa who rebels, and there is Mahabala in this place, which in Varanasi, who also questions and rebels, okay? So these 3, so it's finally, I don't know if you've, Orwell said about Graham Greene, right? Okay. Graham Greene's Heart of the Matter, he said, Graham Greene, who's Catholic, seems to regard hell as a high-class nightclub, admission only to Catholics, because non-Catholics are too ignorant even to sin. So he said that about Graham Greene. I think there is that sense here, for all the anti-Brahmin thing, that element of simplicity of the, of the other castes that is there, which I find problematic, okay? Because here it's not there, it's not a problem here, because only 2 Brahmins, right? So it's okay. 3 will be too many, right? Having 3 Brahmins who are questioning and everybody else, like Putta is simple. He uses the word simplicity. Supposing I were to tell Putta this, he doesn't actually tell him. His simple mind won't be able to bear this, he says, this Praneshacharya. Now that I find problematic, okay, because there's no distance that Praneshacharya is not seen from the outside. He's entirely internalized in some way. We don't get the feeling that Praneshacharya's feelings may not be valid. That feeling you don't get when you read the novel. So I have this problem with that. There is an element of condescension, of simple people kind of thing. That I don't know about. Why should we think that that these people, because they're uneducated, are simple? I find all people are highly complicated. It's very complicated. You can't figure that.
If you look at reality, there is that condescension of upper castes on lower castes. We went back, Yamuna Vasu came also, I think. We went back to the village some 20 years later. And it's not just in that village. That village was exactly as it was before. The Brahmins dominated. There was an extra temple. Everything went on as before. And that goes on now, excepting maybe somewhat less in urban areas. But even in urban areas, not only Brahmins, upper castes do look down on lower castes.
They do. But my point is, Praneshacharya's condescension, okay? Praneshacharya's condescension not being shown as condescension makes Anantmurti condescending. Okay, it becomes a property of the author, it's not the property of the character alone, because that distance is not maintained, okay? So the question is that becomes a problem of the novel. It's no longer a problem of the character's problem, not a character trait. It's a problem of the authorial trait. It becomes that. That is my issue. It's true, undoubtedly.
Praneshacharya is confused. He's totally confused emotionally too at what he's done and what he's supposed to be and his entire upbringing. And then he does the wrong thing. He doesn't even know what he is anymore, I think. What do you say?
I don't know. I think, see, Pranesh Acharya, look, the basic difference between Pranesh Acharya and the other people is that Pranesh Acharya is above all the prejudices of the other people. He's actually a person who believes, right? He actually believes. And not only that, he tries to be, so the entire Pranesh Acharya is the sort of positive side of this novel. He can't be given stuff like condescension and all. He can't accommodate that condescension. Because if you say that it is Pranesh Acharya's personal problem being condescending to the lower castes, okay, then that moral center that Pranesh Acharya, he represents a moral center. See, what has he violated really? He's not an immoral person. He's violated taboos. And these taboos don't mean anything to Anantmurthy. It may have meant something at that time, 1930, but this novel was written in 65. Okay. It can't mean anything. This entire thing of eating meat, or it can't, these taboos don't mean anything. Okay. It's not like Crime and Punishment, but murdering a woman, okay, it would be a taboo, okay. Here, these are not taboos anymore, at least in 1965 they were not, okay. That being the case, Pranesh Acharya can't have, whereas condescension is a moral problem, even today, right? Because it's a question of equality, it's a question of equality and justice, equality of egalitarian principles. You can't condescend to somebody of the lower caste. In 65 you couldn't, right? So if Pranesh Acharya, with all his, basically morally he's an upright person, right? He's also capable of seeing his own faults. If he has this fault, okay, which would be a fault today, that the novel is a blemish in the novel, is the way I see it.
Just a last question. Where is this location, and did this team stay there only during the shooting?
Pardon? Location, I chose near Sringeri. It's called Vaikuntapura village, Agrahara, and it was called Durvasupura in the film. But actually the original name of the Agrahara is called Vaikuntapura.
So
I went, hunted the places, and then I wanted, see, I'm an artist, and I completely think in a very different way when I come to painting. But here, I put myself in a completely different situation where I always thought about Satyajit Ray's films, Padar Panchali and other things, how well he made it, how beautiful they are, and what an art direction it was. So I was thinking of those things, to make it as realistic as possible. And so I got involved in, from the story till the end of the film, till I did the publicity material, everything. The thing is that we're talking about the Brahmins. Brahmins didn't like it. In 1970, when the film was shown, it was Brahmins who hated the film, generally. They wrote against it, and then it was banned. The film was banned. And then some of the artists and activists from Delhi, they took a procession like J. Swaminathan, Tayyab Mehta, and all these people, Al-Qazi. They made a procession. They said it has to be lifted, ban. So finally, Government of India lifted the ban, and it got the national award also. President Gold Medal. So the thing is that so many Brahmins became enemies of me and Girish, because he said, "You're a Brahmin, and how could you support this sort of a thing to happen?" But it is I think what I felt when I read the novel, at the manuscript level, I told Girish, but this is something which I can smell. I think this is a film which I have to make. This is a story. It has got a possibility of a film. And he also felt the same thing. But it took some 2-3 years for us to find a director who could direct the film. And Pattabhi came forward to do it. Of course, his wife acted in Das Chandri. And could you recognize Yamuna Prabhu in the film? 1969 Yamuna Prabhu. Padmavati. Padmavati. And could recognize Lakshmi Krishnamurti?
No, we couldn't.
She is the widow in the film.
Oh, the woman who cries and runs around.
Right.
Okay.
And so it was very interesting because they both belong to the Madras Players group, of which I also worked in through Girish. I came to know many people. And then, of course, we selected Bangalore-based writers like Dashrathi Dikshit and, people like that. And Jairam's father. So all of them, all Bangalore-based theatre actors.
The two people were Vishalam and Ambu.
Yeah.
Putta is Jairam, is it? Putta's role
Putta.
is-
Jairam,
Lakshmi
huh?
Narayan, no?
Putta part yaar made? Who played Putta's role?
Jairam.
Jairam, okay.
Jairam. He's alive still. There are some people who are no more
Yeah.
who acted in the film, but Putta is alive. I mean, Jairam is alive. And it was a very interesting thing, so. And after this film, next film was Vamshavriksha, which I did art direction with Girish and Karan. After that, I told Girish that I won't get myself involved in art direction of any film. Because it takes away one's time, a lot of time it takes. Almost, the film is, you saw it for about 2.5 hours. Film took about 30 days to shoot the film. But your involvement in the film is so much, it takes almost a year, 1 year. So I didn't want to waste my time making the film, so I went back to my painting. I'm glad I went back to my painting because I could satisfy myself, and at the same time I could maintain a good friendship with Karnad and Karanth and all these people. Because if it's a director's medium, film is a director's medium. Many people, even now, they don't know who is art director of the film. Yesterday when I saw Manthan, I was thinking of art direction. And it was Shama. Shama Zaidi, she did the art direction of the film.
At that time, a woman.
Yeah, very good.
I was feeling wow when I saw the name.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
Yeah, a couple of questions. One about the shoot, the scene where the chariot is coming out in that village fair, and the way that whole thing has been shot, that's the only time when we go that large scale in the entire film to see the entire scene being orchestrated and the two characters who are coming running through. How was that really shot? How was that planned? How was that done? That's one question. And the other one was about the Yakshagana performance that happens. I don't know enough to understand who are the characters and what is being played out. And if someone could please share insights into that, because the editing, the pace of the film is pretty good, but that's one place where I felt that it slackens a bit. And I'm sure that the filmmakers would have thought that it's significant to show that. So if any discussion on that, please.
My answer to this question is, I was not for any of these sort of things. Jatre or Yakshagana, because concentration of, it was only Pranashacharya and Rachandri, their love affair. It's taking place.
Then when I talked to Patabi, he said they wanted to have about number of minutes to get subsidy. So he elaborated all those sort of things. That I felt was not a good idea. But anyway, I couldn't do anything about it. But I felt that it is not necessary at all, the film. It loses its impact.
The fair. Kiga.
Kiga and also Yakshagana.
Yakshagana.
The four friends, who wants to go, who say that we can also act and all those other things. They say that, but all those other things, we could have made it much more shorter.
Yeah. Yeah, it has that ethnographic detail kind of thing, which not really I contribute to the story. It doesn't contribute. Yeah.
Yamuna,
Drama.
Lakshmi, you want to say something?
I wanted to say I completely agree with you. It did quite fit in, but Pattabhi had to cover a certain amount of distance in the film. And therefore, I think some of this was brought in because it did slacken the film. It didn't, unless you looked very deep and found your own meanings in it, it had no connection with what was going on. All that running around with the chariot, and it was unnecessary maybe, I don't know. One thought about it later.
I don't think it's necessary, these things,
Yeah, but
Extraneous.
yeah, that's true. But I think the local color, it adds local color in the documentary sense. It adds
And,
local color there.
Toddy tapping and things like that.
Yeah.
No necessity for all those sort of things.
I just wanted to know, how was the film received after it was released? How was the impact at that time when the film was screened? The audience reaction to the film, because it's pretty, given that era, calling out Brahmanism and making a satire like this, it's taking a big step. Like you yourself said that, it's an important film that had to be made. But what was the audience reaction to it, or critics' reaction when it was just released? Because Pathe Pachali, I know that it wasn't received very well within Bengal, but it did very well in the international circuit. So did it have similar kind of circulation in Karnataka or beyond it?
It created a sensation actually when
It
it
had
came
created
out.
a sensation,
Yeah, it created
yeah.
but the thing is, you see, already there was talk of this art cinema. See, there was art cinema had already made some kind of launch, and it already Bhuvan Shom had already made it. So it's Pathe Panchali is a different thing because it was one of a kind and nobody had seen anything like this, right? Here there had already been some kind of there already a climate was there, yeah. So it's a somewhat different thing, but it was a sensation only. I remember in sensation,
that's true.
it was a big I mean,
Lakshmi Narayan used to make some films, no?
yeah,
At that time, he used,
correct.
Lakshmi Narayan used to make. And Girish Kasaravalli made later, but he made the first film, Katashraddha. That
Also
is
Anandmurthy.
Anandmurthy's story.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Story. It's a
That's
beautiful
true.
film.
Yeah. But that came later, and that is a much more what's it called, stronger in terms of its yeah,
Because he knew the technique.
yeah.
See here, excepting Tom Cowan, who was Australian, and Singeetam Srinivas Rao, who was executive director of Samskara. Pattabhi Reddy was the producer, director, and Singeetam was the executive director. The thing is that I forgot my lines. Yeah. The thing is that I wanted to say something which I completely
That
forgot.
apart from the others, didn't have much sense of. I think you wanted to say that. Apart from these people who knew cinema, at least, who had some.
Yeah. So the thing is that these people we thought of it as a very tight film to the original, to the story, and Pranashacharya's problem,
Arnapa's problem and how to deal with these two. And at that time, both Girish and I we were influenced by Kafka, Camus, Sartre, and all these famous intellectuals. And so, but we wanted to make a film. And then, as I told you, it is a director's media. And then finally, it became like that. And I do not know why I forgot that line. I forgot that.
But what did you all feel was the director? Pattabhi was the real director, but Vasu, you and really Girish felt you all managed things. You found a location, you knew Kannada, you read the book. I don't know who wrote the script, I'm not sure. There
You
was
see, one thing,
a division of loyalty,
Lakshmi,
not of loyalty, a division of possession or whatever, no?
I felt that, Pattabhi never came to the location at all.
There.
Only time
But he
came
never,
to the location.
he never interfered.
No. The thing is, interpretation is different thing altogether. It's you can also have an executive director and ask him to execute my ideas. That's not the point. The point is, director's importance of director is to be there. And that's why Kasaravalli becomes very important.
He's there always.
Kasaravalli, Girish Kasaravalli knows the technique of filmmaking. And even Tom Cowan, being an Australian cameraman, who just happened to come to my house in Cholamandal Artist Village. I used to live there before. And one evening he came. He had come to India to meet Satyajit Ray. That's all his ideas were. And he and his friend Stephen Karthew, who is an editor of some documentaries, they both came home, and I spoke to them about the story of Samskara, which he was very acting, at the same time very active, Tom. He said, Vasudev, do you think I have a role in that film? I said, I don't know. I think your film should be seen by Girish Karnad and Pattabhi Reddy. Then we saw some of his documentaries and we approved. And I took him to the location. And when I took him to the location, he was
So
making
you and
everything possible.
Girish realized the importance of that film, of Samskara, of what it was going to turn out into. I don't think Pattabhi had realized how important that film was. And he was a person who let things go, I think. That was my impression. But that it was an important film, it's you and Girish who realized that and knew it would go on to bigger things. And
Anyway,
no,
Girish is no more, and I'm also on my last legs. But anyway, that's a different matter. But I think the film is one should compliment Tom Cowan for it. His camera work is, I thought at that time, was very brilliant. At that time, technically, even now today, when I see film like Samskara, I feel that there are a lot of flaws in the film. Lot of flaws, which we could have avoided, but we couldn't avoid it at the time. We were thinking that everything was fine. So, really speaking, the film is Tom Cowan's success. The film should thank Tom Cowan for its success, and also for not Pattabhi, Sangeetam Srinivas Rao and Girish Karnad. Girish Karnad's acting is superb, and I don't think he has acted like that in any other film of his so far I have seen. Even Manthan yesterday I saw. I didn't very much like his acting. So I think here he put himself, you know. Yeah.
His
So,
performances elsewhere are somewhat wooden. I always found him a little wooden in his acting. Here he's not like that.
yeah. Yeah.
We have about only 5 minutes. Any last questions, comments?
I just want to say Patabi's comatose contribution is possibly a blessing in disguise because it would have caused too many, you know, the chemistry of Girish and Vasudev and so on. So maybe his contribution is very valuable that he didn't interfere.
Yeah, I was just feeling that there is one question which, at least I felt the question has remained unanswered. Why Pranesh Acharya went back to his place in spite of, what was his thought process which made him go back? That has not been explained in the film.
Yeah, it is a contradictory thing, and how to end a film was a big question. In novel also, Ananthamurthy also has the same problem. And in the film also we have got the same problem. And so he tells Putta, there is somebody waiting for me. He doesn't say who is waiting. And he goes to him by a cart to the village back.
He, at that meal, he suddenly realizes he can't get away. Wherever he goes, he'll be recognized. He's a very well-known Pandit. And so that's partly how he comes back into his own mind. And he has to go back and complete his duty. That's how I thought it panned out. Because at that meal, when he's recognized, then he knows he cannot hide from the world. He has to do his duty.
Yeah, it's a snake cremation which sort of connects because that is where you see, Pranishacharya's expression of that epiphany, of that clarity which the scriptures did not give him. This person cremating the snake gave him, and I felt that that connects really well to him going back and just showing the fire.
Yeah.
That fire, does it mean that he cremated, he was cremated finally?
Yeah, that's what it shows, no? The film, in the
Yeah.
film, we have shown it like normally.
Yeah, he couldn't get away from himself, whatever he did. He had to take on the responsibility of his position. He was trying to get away, but he couldn't.
When he says that there's somebody waiting for me, did he mean Chandri?
No, I don't think so. Because
Because his wife he would have cremated, and he is like Narayan Swami. Narayan. But does he go thinking that he will cremate him or?
I don't know, possibly. Huh?
Don't know.
Yeah, but in the film they don't show his cremation, right? So
Doesn't show the cremation at all.
yeah, it's all like play.
It's all empty.
Yeah, why does he go back? Like he says, there's somebody waiting. So I interpreted only as Chandri or.
No, I mean, in what capacity is as mayor? She's going to be his mistress also? What capacity is she going to be? Or it's a romance? It can't be, obviously. It can't be
like
either.
in the novel, is there any conclusion between them?
The last line in the novel is he's anxious. He's angry. Waits. He's still confused. Doesn't get out of his confusion at all. Atankadinda kadanu is the last thing, which is.
How I understood is, how much can we run away from ourselves? That is his search.
Yeah.
So he comes back, understanding. See, all along he likes anonymity, which is evading him also, even with Putta, right? So how much can I run away from myself? I'll be myself wherever I go. So it's as good as my coming back
So
to
there
my
was Narayan Swami's
resignation of
image.
some sort, yeah. That's but I think it's not the resolution is not completely satisfactory. There's some problem there.
finally got away from Putta. He was trying, he gave all kinds of excuses and all, and then he won.
But
I think
Putta
it's a
should have
very
been made more
simple-
positive at the end. That
simple
rejection
and
is a bit.
simple resolution with Putta.
It's a very technical question. I believe Girish Karnad pointed out that there were factual errors in the rituals and all as portrayed by UR Anantmurthy. Can you throw some light on it? The way those rituals were supposed to be conducted, etc. Hello? Yeah, there's a technical question. I believe Girish Karnad pointed out that there were factual errors in the ritual processes as they were done, and he had pointed it out to Narayan Murthy. So Ananthamurthy, do you know can you throw some light on this, whether it actually happened, whether it's really said that or what? Because he himself presented this when he gave a talk here, but I forget exactly what it was. So if Mr. Vasudev can think about
You're talking about the cremation part of it?
Cremation or the process or the Madhava rituals or whatever.
Yeah, right. And it was cinematically done to give an effect to cinema. But otherwise, bodies are not cremated like that, particularly Brahmin, Pranasharya's type of Brahmin. His wife is important. He would cremate her properly in a crematorium, not on a beach with fire going. It's like any other cinema. You see that sort of a thing, but it's only effective visually to show that he was part of it. He sort of did a samskara of that, his wife. But really speaking, that is only for cinematically it was done. I was not very happy with that particular scene, but anyway, one had to accept it.
See, in the film, the rituals don't matter. What matters is his character and other characters around him, Putta, as you say, and who are the others who mattered? Narayan Sami and that, what's her name? What was Sneha's name?
Chandri.
Chandri. Right. It's their characters, I think, that matter. As I don't know, maybe as a woman, I think of the emotional part of it, because I think that is what holds an audience. And that came through off and on. May not be natural, but it was there. And that's what, the hypocrisy of Brahmanism came through with all those guys not even worrying about the famine, but worrying about rituals and etc., etc. That's how I looked at it.
Thank you very much for everybody for staying on, being part of our tiny fledgling film club. We are ever so grateful to Lakshmi, to Vasu, and to Yamuna for Vasu. I actually pulled him in when he arrived here. Thank you so much for being generous with your time, Yamuna and Lakshmi and Vasu. We are so grateful for Raghavendra sir for agreeing so quickly and being so generous with your time and your scholarship. Thank you. We are very grateful.